Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I'm Gary, your host. This is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. This time, we're going to take a look at this very rough copy of Mighty Samson, number 5 from 1966, Gold Key Comics. It's a 12 center, even though you can barely see any of the the cover price on there. It says, "High above New York, Samson battles a fantastic man creature whose strength matches his own." And this is written by Otto Binder with art by Frank Thorne. Great Frank Thorne. And for those who may not be familiar with Mighty Samson, is a post-apocalyptic science fiction fantasy character from Gold Key Comics. He exists in a post-nuclear war world in the ruins of New York City called New York, created by Otto Binder and Frank Thorne. And he, with his friends Mindor and his daughter Charmaine, struggle to survive the mutated menaces of the world. And they come up with a lot of really odd and unusual creatures. Most of the creatures they come up with are like mashups of existing creatures instead of just something that's mutated into something weird. Some of them are, but things that could not happen. But still, it's real fun reading. This is issue number 5. Samson himself is a mutant, but he is a normal human mutant who just with superhuman strength. And that was his origin was detailed in issue number 1. And I have talked about Mighty Samson before. I think I don't remember if I covered what issue I had covered. The series ran from was it 64 to I think 82, but not regularly. The last few issues in the 80s, that was after a long hiatus, and most of the stuff in later were reprint. And the last couple of issues were a combination of a new story by someone else and reprint stuff. Frank Thorne was in did the first year or so of the title, maybe less than that. I'm not sure. And then most for the most part after that was done by Jack Sparling. So not too long ago, I did showed various science fiction comics, and including some from Gold Key, and I noticed some Jack Sparling art in those, and I accidentally attributed that art to Frank Springer when I meant Jack Sparling. For some reason, I often get those names confused. I don't get their art confused, but I get the names confused. But this is Frank Thorne. Of course, Frank Thorne, he is a good girl artist. He was a great artist. Of course, he did Mighty Samson. He did some Western stuff at DC, including a few issues of Korok, Son of Tarzan, but he is best known for his tenure on Red Sonja, which is what really made him famous, and his art helped make her famous too. And the creature in here really looks like, you can really see the Frank Thorne's. It looks a lot like some of the monsters that creatures that appeared in both Red Sonja and his other swordswoman character of Gita. of Alizar, I think it was. So let's go through the book here. Okay, and I forgot to mention here that it's a great cover painting done by George Wilson, so it looks like. And this is at a time when they were still doing sometimes this, where you get a pinup on the back cover instead of an ad that featured the cover painting without the tradecraft on it. And so it's a really nice to see. Of course, George Wilson was so good. I just love his work. And we'll go Frank Thorne, and the story is the Death Geysers. There's Samson and Charmaine doing stuff in the city. They're out looking for, and there's this crack, and then his. That's what they're looking for. What they call the Death Geysers. Charmaine's father, Mindor, is basically a self-taught scientist trying to recoup the scientific knowledge of ages past. And but these death geysers recently started popping up, and what they are is little fissures that open up and have this spray of radioactive gas which kills people. But it's and it thinks it's like from fallout from the war that is then trapped underground and under pressure by various atmospheric gases. And now they are in danger. Hustles Charmaine off, puts her into an elevator car in a nearby skyscraper, and he climbs up on the outside and then hoists her up out of harm's way. Then later, this is when Mindor is speculating about the Death Geysers and trying to come up with a way of neutralizing the Death Geysers. Then Charmaine sees it coming down the Hudson River. Hudson, as it's known. See a man floating on this giant lily pad type thing, but he's about to be consumed by this the gulping blob, which is just like some who knows what it is, about to gulp him up. Samson uses an iron I-beam and flips the thing around so that he can save the fellow. It turns out that the guy is another scientist, like Mindor, from someplace up north. His people were have just recently been wiped out from a flash flood, and he is now alone. So they start working together, trying to utilize their scientific knowledge and acquire more means to try to neutralize these geysers. Well, there's and there this fellow is. I've forgotten his name. Doesn't matter. And collecting canned foods and stuff. Well, Samson is using this bucket from a steam shovel, digging out an area for the guy to create a home. So they're out. Then they're out about doing research on the geysers, and they're separated. And then the geyser comes loose, and then suddenly this horrid monster comes out. It's a man-like monster, and this is the one that is very Thornian. And it's Samson and him. He even speaks Ogar. Goes head to head with Samson. He thinks their fight might actually be more powerful, or at least as powerful as Samson. Uses a Coke sign and to kind of knock him out. But then the guy, he gets up and runs off. Samson follows his footprints until his prints just suddenly disappeared. And then he sees Vaxar. That's the guy's name, Vaxar. And he comes back, and there they are. They're going through they've come up with what they think might be a solution, some formula they can use to spray and neutralize it. And they're using an old map of New York to, because he's got a lot of these geysers mapped out, and they go together with these spray canisters to try it out, and to no avail. But then they are attacked again by the monster. Samson's right there, boom, and then the thing goes, "Command you, attack, Samson." He has the mental capability of controlling other monsters, so all other monsters attack Samson. But Samson gets away, and then the monster takes off and again disappears. And there's Vaxar again, back with him, and says, "No, stuff didn't work. We'll have to try something else." Then later, he wants to try something by himself. He's out, and this is when we see, instead of killing Vaxar, he was exposed. It mutates him into Ogar, but it's only temporarily, and he destroys the solution that might have worked. Then he comes up. He wants to remain as he is. He must do away with Samson. So he tries to put a mental message in his mind. So when he turns back into Vaxar, to control Vaxar, and it works for a bit, but Vaxar works without revealing anything. Well, here he is popping again, he's following, and then commands other monsters to attack again. Here's this giant land clam, grabs Samson and gulps him in, but then Samson is spat back out, comes flying out, boom, hits him in the face. Of course, this is just great art by Frank Thorne. This was, he was just in his prime. He was so great at this stuff. And Hannah said he had lighted his fur cape on fire, which is what caused the thing to spit him back out. Ooh, I had to sneeze there. There we go. And he comes up with an idea. They've built a stockade trying to keep the monster out. It got an old usable chain and padlock. And Vaxar, under the influence of Ogar, concocts an acid and pours it on the chain and stuff, and to weaken it, lets himself out normally, and then he goes back and he transforms into Ogar. Then he comes back, and now he can easily snap that chain, breaks in, and he attacks Samson, who is standing guard, skewers him with a spear. But no, the double enemy. It was all a ruse. Samson was hiding up in the tree, and their fight accidentally catches fire, and Samson's able to douse it, and meanwhile, Ogar gets away, turns back into Vaxar, and now they come up with another idea. So they start setting up this giant a lightning rod on top of one of the skyscrapers, and when lightning hits, and zam, they think it'll close the fissures, but it doesn't. It opens more fissures, which is what Vaxar had in mind, under Ogar's influence, had in mind in the first place. So now there's even more geysers, and he can remain. Vaxar and Ogar will remain much longer. Meanwhile, people are getting gassed as Samson quickly tears down the lightning rod. Slam! And Ogar is on the loose. But he does change back. And here he is, and they come up with another idea, because Mindor had found this old experimental laser, but he hopes it works, but they never had a power supply for it. But then he's got an idea. There's an old experimental nuclear power reactor in a lab in New York, and he goes there. Yes, it's still operating. There's power. They juice the thing up, test it, and it works fine. So then they juice it up good, and they're going to use that to seal the fissures. But then Vaxar changes into Ogar again. He snatches Charmaine, because Charmaine saw the transformation, and he uses her as bait. Samson goes after, and he uses his power to get the other monsters in the area to again attack him. So Samson must fight all these other monsters, and ultimately defeat them at great spot. Some of the previous owner had must have been smoking or something, and dropped some hot ash on here and burned part of the paper. But Samson prevails. Ogar is taking Charmaine up the side of what remains of the Empire State Building, climbing outside, up the side with Samson in hot pursuit. He gets up there, Charmaine snatches something to save herself while Samson is fighting with Ogar, and Ogar, boom, plummets to his death. They get down there, and he is changed back into Vaxar, and they mourn Vaxar because he was innocent in there, but then they have to go on with life. And then here has the thing on the inside back cover is the thing about the world's tallest. At the time it was the world's tallest, the Empire State Building, and talks about of course the King Kong movie, a plane crash into the building, how other birds sometimes smack into it, and lightning strikes, etc. Very interesting stuff there. So that is all of issue 5 of Mighty Samson. I always enjoyed these books, and I was, but for most of my life, I only got to see the Jack Sparling issues. It was quite some time before I ever found out that Frank Thorne had done the earlier stuff and was co-creator of the character. So he was some great artwork and some fun, action-packed storytelling, and all around good fun. So tell me how much you love Mighty Samson from Gold Key Comics. Like, share, and subscribe. Leave your comments down below, and remember, comics, are art.